Welcome in, everybody. This is Orlando Market Pulse for month of March of 2026. Today, we are going to be concentrating on the south of Central Florida, particularly on Osceola and Polk counties. And this podcast is designed to bring you actual, up-to-date, and forward-looking information on all the housing values. And if you're a realtor or real estate professional working in Central Florida, we hope that this would be information that will help you advise your clients in an informed and expert way. If you're a seller and you plan to put your home on the market, we hope that this information will bring you clarity on the value of your property so you can price it correctly and it doesn't have to sit in the market for 100, 200, 300, whoever knows how many days. And if you're a buyer looking to purchase in this area, we hope that this podcast will bring you correct values that will help you make educated and informed decision purchasing the house that will make it your home. And today, Jessica Eckhart, a residential appraiser with Accredited Appraisals, is here to assist me providing us all this fact-rich data. Jessica, thank you so much for joining me in this quest to make our space in Central Florida more valuable in information and less spammy in its own form. I appreciate you coming in on board.
Yes, thank you for having me. Again, I'm excited. It's going to be a good topic.
Let's get to it. Jessica, so the first question to you is, based on the previous year's data, what do you see about the housing market in Osceola County as of today and the beginning of March of 2026?
Osceola County is quite an interesting story, actually. I think the market is stabilizing. That's what the market conditions and trends are showing me. That does also, believe it or not, mean that there is a slower speed of sales. So we are looking at 50 to 100 days on average being on the market. That does also mean that buyers have options and buyers have leverage. So there are transactions to be had. Some of the biggest range, the highest volume of sales are between 350 to 500. And we're just looking at really balanced, stable conditions. Now that is overall. This is overall single family, and this is overall in Osceola County. But as always, you'll always hear me saying this, realistic pricing is gonna be the key.
Okay, so Jessica, now I have the question. Based on the last month's podcast that we did, I know it's very important to see what is active in the market versus what is sold. So do you have any data of the previous, let's say maybe year, and then what does this data tell us about what's happening today and what should we expect in the future?
So the last 12 months of active and closed sales, you can really see the orange line here this is the active number of active listings. And we've kind of peaked at 3,200 units. That's the 12-month high. And you can see this is what's active and this is what's closed. And since March of 2025 to now, there's been just a gradual decline. And the same with the number of listings. After that peak, there was just a 10% drop in the inventory. And that's normal. That is normal to happen. Nothing crazy here. It's just what's interesting to me is that the number of closed sales, that is, significantly lower than it was last year. But that's just a signal of the pace slowing down.
I see they kind of go almost parallel to each other.
Yes. Yeah. And this is historical. I mean, we're talking about Osceola County. And for those who are not familiar with Osceola County, it's basically the size of the state of Rhode Island. Like it's a very large geographic area. It's not crazy that there are 3,000 listings. That's this in the whole county we're talking about. What is crazy to me, and this is historically, is that there's always a lot of listings and very little sales. But that's just a normal trend of what happens in that market. That doesn't mean that Osceola County is it's a growing area and a lot of eyes are on it. So activity is happening there for sure.
All right. And because it's such a big area, do you see any hit areas where the demand is increased or you see more purchasing activity, more deals happening, more transactions closing? Can you share this with us?
This is interesting too. The major volume of sales are around the 350 to 600 price range. This is where all of the activity is happening. This is where all the competition is. This is the concentration of buyer activity. This is the high volume sweet spot, if you will. And in the affordable housing side, and we'll get to that, there are parts of Osceola County that are focused on affordable housing or is an affordable housing option. but there's just not a ton of activity here. And we'll talk about why that is coming up. But even in the $1 million mark range, the $1 million sales, like, million and over, the luxury volume is actually more than the entry level, like investor volume. That's weird to me. But all of it, it's all right here, folks. All right here.
And again, we're seeing the average sales price of home is 450,000, same like we saw in a Popka.
Yes. Yeah, it's right. Yes. 400 to 500. That is the same here too.
Do you see sellers getting a full ask on the price of homes, or has the market shifted towards buyers now? Who's getting the upper hand?
Well, because of the high number of active listings and what's going on there, buyers have leverage. Buyers are going to have leverage right now. So what we can see here is kind of an interesting feature. In the 400,000 range, we're looking at about a 3% concession or negotiation segment. So really those are going for about 3% below ask price. In the 600 to 700,000 market range, we're looking at, a little bit like 4.5. And then in the luxury tier, not much different. I mean, just there's a less room to negotiate in where all of the concentration is than there is in the other areas. And certainly it goes without saying, the ones that are anything below 300, if it works for that person, they're going to just pay for it. Consistently, it's like 94 to 97%.
Let's make it a little bit clearer. Let's say the buyer is looking right now, they're watching this digest, and then let's say they're shopping within the price range of 350 to 400,000. So does it mean that they can negotiate almost 7-8% of the purchase price?
In the 400,000 range?
Like 250, like 300 to 400,000. So it goes to this.
In this, in this segment here, that is what it's showing, is that from 250 to 400, you really have anywhere from 3 to 8% that you can play with. It really depends on a lot of factors, but we'll talk about that coming up too. Where buyers need to use all the leverage they can right now. This is a stable market. This is a market that is healthy in the sense that there's a lot of activity. People need to come to terms with the fact that the market is what it is, and they need to have confidence to go back out and make offers and negotiate, because there are deals to be had and the market isn't going to, or at least the market is showing signs of being stable and normal. So I encourage buyers out there to get with their real estate agents and do what they can to get a deal.
Yes, guys, talk to a realtor, call me for pre-approval, and let's get this done. Because if you're waiting for the market to crash like it was in 2006, we have so much data to show you that this is not the case, and there's no need to put your life on hold waiting for something like this happening again. And talking about what happened in 2006, it's very important for me, Jessica, and I want to ask you to address it as a professional in this industry. Based on what we saw in COVID era, what are you seeing in the current market? Because we see on the news constantly the housing values are dropping, the big crash is coming, and there's so much gloom and doom. What can you tell us using the facts that you have?
This is my favorite slide. And I will say this is a very common V-shape trend line that I'm seeing across the board in Central Florida. And what this essentially, if I can break this down into sections, is from 2016 to 2020, this is kind of a healthy market, if you will, right? In 2016, the average or the median home price was $250,000. And in 2016, the market was still correcting from the 2007, 2008 market crash. And in short sales and real estate owned properties, going through bankruptcies, whatever people were going through, it took at least 5 to 8 years to really recover from that. So what we're seeing here in 2016 is that peak of recovery. And then it kind of goes into this normal market range where we're looking at 3 to 6 months of inventory, 50 to 80 days. It was going good, right? People started to lick their wounds, come out of the cave. And then COVID happened. And then we know what happened, right? Things were on market for 13 or 14 days. The homes were selling frantically. There was hardly any active listings. They weren't staying on market very long. Well, then we started into this recovery phase. And what you can see is that where we were back when things were normal and feeling normal, is where we are right now. So we are stabilizing again. And, obviously the amount of time that we've stabilized is different than what it was from the crash, but we're seeing very similar days on market. We've got a market balance, 7-8 months of inventory. So we are definitely signaling into recovery. And I think that is a very important thing for people to walk away with, is knowing that this is normal. We all are scared that, something else could happen. And that's true, but that should not, we should, just like you said before, we're no longer in a place where we wait. If you can move and you can find out your finances, go for it, because this is as normal as it's going to get.
No, thank you for that. Now, let's talk about the market of Kissimmee. It's a pretty big market. And what do you think would be a playbook in the current market for a seller in Kissimmee to sell their home today?
Kissimmee. Let me go to Kissimmee. I have a slide on that. So Kissimmee is definitely a buyer's market. Kissimmee is so interesting. It's a buyer's market. It has 8 months of overall inventory. You can see that the builders have a serious advantage here. There is a serious thing going on in Kissimmee, and it is called new construction. And so the resale market in Kissimmee is right here. It says, 9.5 months of inventory, 102 days on market, versus new construction. New construction is 3 months of inventory, 53 days on market. This mid-tier zone here of 300 to 500, that's where new construction is sitting. So Kissimmee people need to really, it's going to be tough for resales, and they have to get creative when putting their home on the market to price it right from the beginning and make it look really pretty and offer concessions that are similar to what builders are providing, which is rate buy downs and closing costs, stuff like that.
And when we talk about make it pretty, we always mean by that, make it pretty on a budget that makes sense to you, because you want to net a certain amount post sale. Don't go out crazy remodeling for everything for all the money in the world, because you'll never get the money back. And if you are selling your home today and you want to know what items on a remodeling list brings you highest ROI, leave us a comment under this video saying ROI, and we'll gladly share with you the cheat sheet of the items with highest ROI that will bring up the value of your home. Now, Jessica, what can you tell us about St. Cloud market?
Osceola County is the competitive peak. It is the most competitive segment of the county, and they have 6 months of inventory, and the average in Osceola County is 8 months. Poinciana, we'll get there. The peak was 12 months, but this is definitely another segment of Osceola County where new construction is winning. Builders are winning. Again, the resale market here is about 91 days on market. You're looking at a 95.9 list to sale price ratio, 6 months of inventory. Whereas the new construction, they're selling fast, right? They're getting close to ask. There's only 2.96 months of inventory. There is so much new development in St. Cloud, and we've seen videos and people talking about the area, about how it's wonderful and it's growth and it's great, but the resale folks are going to have a little bit of a challenge. However, in St. Cloud, it's less of a challenge than everywhere else. So that's always good. But yeah, really right here in this 400 to 500,000 mark, the closed sales, the new construction is capturing 67% of the closed sales, and about 45% of the new active listings. So what does that mean for St. Cloud? And that's basically knowing that your primary competitor is the new builds. You need to price for the real market. You need to get it right. And you need to have the right mindset that as a seller, you're going to be on market for about 90 days, and that's normal. There's nothing to panic at, but it's really for sellers to understand and agents to help their clients understand that this is an environment that St. Cloud is still very healthy. It's just that the competition is new construction, and they need to have a strategic price plan and concession plan.
So you think when people are going for new construction versus resale, what is the most attractive point to the buyer there? Is that lower rate? Is this closing cost concessions that help them reduce their closing costs? Or is this like the fact that they don't have to worry about the quality of the build for a while and your roof leaking and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think COVID did something to us and the fact that like we were all at home and doing all of our work projects at home. And I think people were so over it. I had a little bit of a trauma response there. I think buyers want turnkey move-in ready. They don't want to worry about anything. They want everything updated. And, there was a massive, build with these builders. Some of these builders are sitting on some inventory. So in order to move that inventory, they're providing incredible concessions, sometimes in the 20,000 range. So it's just, I think buyers are just wanting that move-in ready condition. And yeah, you don't have to worry about any of the major components. If someone can afford it in that range, they're going to pick the new construction, unless they're looking for something unique in which the resale market is there.
I don't know. Sometimes, like personally for me, when I look at new construction that's offered currently, I see how things get trimmed little by little because everybody's trying to optimize their margin. And I think builders, they know that craft really well and they use all the disposable tools at hand to do that. But I'm seeing how often new construction comes with smaller and smaller lots with cheaper materials, if you would say. And people are still paying premium dollar on it. And I think that it's kind of, maybe it's not worth it to overlook some of the resale, considering that back in the day, the properties were built with a lot more generous, I would say, approach.
Well, yeah, I think the quality of construction of old is, remember when you would see a house and you would say like, it's got good bones, like you would see the benefit to the house or the possibility of the house. And I don't know, not to say anything about new construction, but I don't know that you can say that now. And you're right. They are people have to remember they are in the business of making money. They understand what their ROI needs to be and they're going to make it. So yeah, it looks great that they're giving you 20,000, in concessions, but what is the trade-off? And I think smart buyers should really be concerned about their payments and really find options that are the best payment option for them.
Absolutely, yeah. And if the resale seller offers some kind of closing cost concessions, it's worth to look into that. Maybe this is just like my personal little 5 cents as a consumer, of course, not to say bad about the builders. Now let's talk about because you're saying that Kissimmee is oversupplied and then St. Cloud is more balanced. But what can we say about the Poinciana market?
The cool thing about Poinciana is that it sits right in the middle when we're talking about the market dynamics of St. Cloud, who's got, that 4 months of inventory, to Kissimmee, who's got 8 months, 9 months of inventory. Poinciana is like little Goldilocks right in the middle, 5.6 months of inventory. And what's interesting about it is that it has the affordability factor. In Osceola County, 86 active listings are between 300 and 400,000. So not in that big section, the other part of the county is where it's so high. It's really in that 300 to 400,000. And there's 84 active listings that are below 300,000. So this really is the entry level engine, if you will, of Osceola County. And so it's driving the affordability there. The market is stabilizing. New construction, builder versus resale here. It's actually a very close story. New construction's about 4.6, resale homes are 6.7. So you have just kind of a better, this is a smaller performance gap here. Resale sellers are competitive compared to some of the other areas. So this is kind of the affordability story of Osceola County. So those who work from home, like, you don't need to go anywhere. Go to Poinciana.
And with monthly payment, this is a great option if you work from home and you don't care about really like going to downtown for nightlife and things like that. This is a great place to start, like start a home, first time home buyer property. This is a great option. Now, let's talk about Davenport. Davenport is from my knowledge, is a heavy investor saturated area because this is one of the counties in Central Florida that allows short-term rental, and it's right outside Disney World. So there's a lot of investment been going on from different countries. And I know that sellers have been struggling lately with the sales of their homes. And I would like to know, what do you have to add to that?
Davenport is much like everywhere else. Essentially the new construction is moving at lightning speed. And then the resale homes are, looking at 9 months of inventory here. 9 months. That's a lot. There's active listings in the 300 to 500,000 band, very similar to Osceola County. Over here, I say how to win the beauty pageant, which is what it really is. Making sure that your pricing is accurate for what it is, for the condition of your home. You're competing against new inventory and you're competing on monthly payment. Very similar data trends as Osceola County. This is a common story that we're seeing here. And that makes the investor, because there is a lot of investor, short-term rental product here. And that story is certainly one that is a little bit more of a warning signal in Kissimmee and Davenport. A lot of investors in that area have a lot of active listings right now. In one subdivision, not in Polk, but in Osceola County, where there were like 74 units that were sold in this one subdivision in all of last year.
Is it Solara?
Solara, yes. And now there's 96 listings active right now. That's a challenge.
Current inventory equals to annual inventory of last year. Wow. Jessica, talking about oversaturation of investors, I've heard recently that there was a spike of short sales activity in Davenport. Do you know anything about it?
I do. So we have heard about this, right? I've been hearing it from agents who are talking to me saying, hey, I'm noticing a lot more short sales and a lot more real estate owned. Super quickly, for the folks that are watching who may not be familiar, so a short sale is something a seller would put their home on the market before foreclosure happens. So they're trying to work with the bank to get out of that mortgage and what will the bank accept. So that's a short sale. And then a real estate owned or REO property is after the foreclosure has already happened and the bank owns it and they're trying to get their money back. In this table, I'm kind of showing that in Kissimmee, there's 80 short sales, 12 REO. So there's 92 of them that are distressed. Davenport, the next one down, so it's moderately high. That's got 77 sales. Now, these are active and pending listens. That's just what's active and pending. And then St. Cloud, that's a little bit less. And then Poinciana is very minimal, actually. Very minimal in there that are distressed sales. So that's a good indication. So it makes sense that in Kissimmee and Davenport, where, it's very investor driven, very high, there's a lot of these short sales happening. But here is the special story. And I have to show this. It's because when we showed it just earlier and we talked about how the market is normalizing in 2016, like I said before, it was 250,000 was the median sale price in 2016. This is the number of distressed properties in 2016. There were 977 sales that were distressed. And mind you, this was, after 2008, it takes them this long, the banks and the lenders, to deal with the aftermath of the crash. And so once that started relieving and we could see that in the market started cooling off and cleaning itself up and kind of getting back to normal, right? And that was in this 2017, 2019. And then COVID happened, right? So here we are again, and we're coming back into stabilization. Look. Are those distressed sales. When people say they're seeing an increase in distressed properties, yes, we are. But from what? From like zero. I think what this proves is back when everybody said back here in 2008, everyone said the market was stabilizing. We were licking our wounds. And then this COVID thing happened. We changed so many rules and laws back in 2008 to ensure that this didn't happen again. And then when 2020 happened and everyone was like, oh man, with all this stuff is happening, it's not going to happen again, because what happened here when your home was 250,000 and you were getting into foreclosure and losing, here, home price appreciation is now 500,000. The homes are between 400.
Yeah, a lot of equity. There's a record high equity nationwide in the homes of people. Yeah.
Yes. So this plays a factor because even though the property is distressed, if you're even doing a short sale, you can sell it and get money, right? There was little to be had back here when that happened, but the price appreciation that happened in 2020 is kind of what's helping the story now. We are stabilizing, things are kind of getting back to normal, and the amount of distressed properties is not like before because a lot of the underwriting that was happening as a relation to what happened in '08 was stronger, right? There wasn't predatory lending. There wasn't, a lot of crazy things, happening that really helped this whole phase to really where you could still sell your home. Yes, there's distress. There's always going to be distress, but not like before. And I think that's just a super interesting story that we've landed softly, in my opinion.
I really thank you for showing this slide because it does help me personally, because it really tickles me when I hear the titles on the media screaming that foreclosures doubled in the last month. And then when you look at like what they doubled from 0.00 to 0.2 to 0.4, which is like historically lowest values. When you hear doubled, always look at the actual numbers. When you hear percentages, try to convert it to actual numbers that will help you see a real story. Don't fall for the gloom and doom. Based on all this data across St. Cloud, Poinciana, Kissimmee, Davenport, what can you tell us? What should we expect? We as a community of Central Florida, as buyers, as sellers, as realtors working with the public in this area, what shall we expect in the next month or so?
In the next 30 to 60 days, we are going to market the payment. We want agents to market the payment, not the price. Fight with those builders, compete with them in the seller funded buy downs. We want to use payment comparison sheets maybe at the open house, right? To show like, hey, here's the resale and that's what this payment is, but that payment, for that new construction is going to be this. And then for sellers, it's going to be winning that beauty pageant. Again, I hate saying it, but it's true. And like we said, you don't have to have completely updated home. Don't put money into it. Just price it right. Just price it right. Be open to the concessions. Sellers have to get out of the mindset that they're being taken advantage of. You're not. This is a normal market condition that we're in. And this is the normal course of business, if you will, and they just need to come to terms with that. And then for buyers, leverage. Buyers have all the leverage right now. So target Kissimmee and Poinciana for affordability, negotiate hard for those concessions, and target those stale listings that have been on the market for more than 90 days because they'll be willing to hopefully strike a deal.
When we say leverage concessions, it means negotiate credit towards your closing cost. Use that credit to lower your interest rate. This way you lower your payment because payment is a big issue. Monthly payment is a big issue for people now. You just need to know how to use those tools. If you have any questions, connect with me, connect with Jessica. We'll be happy to walk you over that. I spend a lot of my personal time educating the community about how to make housing affordable because I know that's a big deal right now in the current environment. We hope that the information provided today proves itself valuable to you guys. If you have any questions, please reach out to Jessica. I'll post her contact information in the pinned comment. And then if you are looking to get a consultation that will be confidential and complimentary to you in terms of the mortgage, possible refinance or cash out on your property, please use the link that I will post in the description to schedule a consultation with me. Again, it's complimentary to you. If you are the realtor working in Central Florida, we really hope that this digest help you consult the public in informed and educated way. And we'll see you guys in a month. Thank you for being with us and spending this time with us. Jessica, thank you for joining me. I'm looking forward to hear what we have to tell us about Winter Garden in the Suburbia Spotlight. And then we'll see you guys next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.